Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today, a really interesting interaction was brought to my attention by a post on the Path of Exile build subreddit. This post by Reddit user Rabaton, which I'll put a link to down in the description below, indicates a really interesting way of scaling Vaal Lightning Strike, and this scaling method is by making its duration almost infinite. What you're going to do here is take advantage of some quirks of computer mathematics. And that is that computers don't understand negative numbers in the same way that you or I might intuitively have developed an understanding of the concept. Negative numbers are often represented by very large positive numbers instead. So for instance, if a number is expected to be small, it might be written with 16 binary digits. This gives a number from 0 to 65,535. However, these are actually interpreted as 0 to 32,768. And then anything larger than that is interpreted as a negative number instead. It's the negative number that you'd get if you subtracted that number from 65,536. So 111, 111, 111, 111, 111 is actually interpreted not as positive 65,535, but as negative 1. Now this quirk of computer mathematics is going to come into our favor when we force the skill duration on Vaal Lightning Strike to be less than 0. How do we do that? Well, we're going to start with a legacy Bloodstained Fossil mod. How do you get those, you might be asking? Bloodstained Fossils were overhauled in patch 3.16, and all of the old Bloodstained Fossil exclusive mods were no longer able to be rolled using a Bloodstained Fossil. However, there's one other source of these, and that is a strongbox that can only be added onto a map through the use of a sextant. So there is a strongbox called Gifts of the Red Queen. This has a 50% chance to spawn in zones where a mortal fragment is used, and if you use 2 mortal fragments or more, then this is raised to 100%. And this will drop a lot of Vaal-themed items. Now, normally you're going to get a double corrupted unique from this. It's going to be like the chest that you get in the Vaal Temple. You only get this strongbox, remember, if you have the sextant mod that causes mortal fragments to give you a chance to get Gifts of the Red Queen. And then once you've done that, you then need to open it and defeat the monsters that guard it. However, one of the things that these can drop is magic items that are identified and that have one of the formerly Bloodstained Fossil exclusive mods. And the one we care about is of the Underground. 15 to 25% increased Vaal skill effect duration. So that's piece 1 of the puzzle. 15 to 25% increased duration doesn't help us. We're trying to get from 100% down to at most negative 1%. But we can use the Calandra mechanics to flip that. The Ethereal Reflecting Mist can invert this and also increase its magnitude. So if you can find one of these that is 25% increased Vaal skill effect duration, and then you can Krangle flip it using the Calandra mechanics, you can end up with something that's negative 36% or more. It needs to be at least negative 36% after the Ethereal Reflecting Mist, and more than that will help you. Next, you're going to use a couple of other mechanics. The first thing is you're going to use Window of Opportunity on the passive tree. Now this has 15% reduced skill effect duration. Note that this is universal, so it applies to Vaal skills as well. But as well as this, the 2 small passives leading up to it are 5% reduced skill effect duration as well. So you're going to take those, and that's going to be 25%. Next, we're going to use the Timeclasp unique ring. This is a ring that's not used very much, and it has a number of effects that relate to time. One of them is a change to the amount of skill effect duration your character has. On a high positive roll on this, it is up to plus 20% increased skill effect duration. On an extreme opposite end of that, it can actually roll to negative 20%. We actually want the low rolls. We want the ones that are negative 20 or negative 19. So let's say you get 2 negative 20% Timeclasp. Because this item drops a lot, only 1 in 41 of them that drop will be negative 20%. But if you're in Trade League, you can find these. And then you've got 2 of these equipped. That's going to be a 40% skill effect duration. And then all you need is to use the Bloodstained Fossil exclusive mod and then invert that whilst its magnitude becomes at least 36%. Now you can do a search for this if you want, and there are a bunch of them available for trade. So why don't we do a look for that? Instead of having a minimum of +1, we're going to have a maximum of negative 36. And we're going to do a search for that, and you'll find there's 10 of them here. Now don't buy one of these because this interaction is going to get nerfed. I'm almost certain it's going to get nerfed really soon, but it's an interesting thing to see. So this will give you 43% reduced Vaal skill effect duration. So if you equip this and you have the whole setup, you've got Fate Nurse equipped, you've got 2 copies of Timeclasp that are negative 20, and you've also got the entirety of the Window of Opportunity cluster, then you are looking at a negative 8% skill effect duration on your Vaal skills. What does this do? Well, it pushes the duration of Lightning Strike to be so long that it is practically infinite. This is going to push it to be at least a week of real world time, if not longer. And as a result, you can fire off a Vaal Lightning Strike and it's just going to keep going. What happens if you fire off more of them? Well, more will appear. If you have the unique gloves Hateforge, which are still extremely expensive, then you can do this pretty much without limit, and you can wind up with a ridiculous amount of Vaal Lightning Strikes in one area. Now, one little problem with this is that when you have this many graphical effects in one place, it will either crash your PC or it will crash the server. If it crashes your PC, then, well, this sucks for you, but it's not something that's actually detrimental to the game's stability overall. But if it crashes the server, then this is the sort of thing that can affect other players. It can both affect other players directly by virtue of them just having less resources for the servers that they're playing on, and also it can do so indirectly. For a long time, the holy grail of cheating in Path of Exile was finding a way to crash the servers reliably, and to do so in such a way that guarantees a rollback. And then what cheaters would do is they would use an RNG crafting method on an item. This didn't work when annulment orbs existed, so annulment orbs would have been the best option if they existed, but you could do this in conjunction with an exalted orb. You then apply an exalted orb to an item. If you were happy with the result, you didn't crash the server. If you were disappointed with the result, then you would go ahead and crash the server. Now, GGG issued a lot of permanent bans for abuse of this and also made a number of changes to how exalted orbs work so that this doesn't work anymore. However, there are probably some artifacts of this method that still remain, and that's why I think that this system is going to end up getting nerfed, and why I don't recommend building this, and it's why I don't have gameplay footage to show of it, because I'm not going out of my way to purchase one of these multi-Divine Orb amulets and a 100+ Divine Orb Hateforge in order to play around with something that is unlikely to survive the New Zealand working day on Monday. But it is another really good example of how player ingenuity can break Path of Exile sometimes. I'll leave it there. May your Vaal Orbs have interesting results, and don't use them to crash the server.